as we've been continuing the conversation around touch points and opportunities to open the lines of communication with your customers and prospects, an additional piece that I want to talk on today, which might not be everybody's favorite, but is around lost customers. One way or the other, this is a reality of business that we're in, of any just product or service, for-profit or nonprofit business, right, is lost customers. So first thing of this that I want to address is really, I think every business needs to be able to have a clear understanding of what a lost customer is. You know, we might have products or services that somebody might use one time, and or then we have others, ideally, that we're having them purchase multiple times, continuing to give, support your cause, those types of things. So everybody, and it's surprising to me sometimes of how often I talk to sales and marketing leaders and they don't know what their retention rate is. You know, very focused on getting new customers and acquisition, which is incredible and amazing, but we need to make sure that we know what our retention rate is, right? For everyone that we're bringing in, how many are we losing, and what's the effectiveness that's going on there. We do need to make sure that we understand we've got an overall retention rate, but also we need to break it out maybe by segment, because we could have one-time purchasers, and how many is that, and what's the effort to get those customers in versus ones that purchase multiple times, and what does that look like? So what does a lost customer truly look like? Then we want to know what their repurchase rate is, or how often they're coming back, right? Or how often they're likely to be coming back. So one of my first jobs was at HD Supply, the B2B side of Home Depot. And we very clearly knew for certain products how often the businesses were purchasing from us. And we had a triage department that then we would have a heads up or a flag when people were out of their natural rhythm from purchasing. And we could identify ahead of time if they were going to become a lost customer, because we want to get ahead of time. So one, knowing what your retention rate is, knowing what a lost customer actually is. And I know that that might sound like a simple question, but not so simple sometimes, and how often they give so we can be getting ahead of it. The other piece of this is, well, I think a lot of people shy away from asking the question of, why did you leave? Or why are you not giving anymore? It's a valuable, valuable piece of information. And if we remember from the beginning, what we're doing is we're creating a two-way dialogue with our customers and our constituents, right, of our program. So there's so much valuable information that can be learned from these kind of, I'll say, exit interview conversations, right? There could be a misunderstanding and misalignment of what was going on, and there could be an opportunity to get those people back. There also could be a valid reason of why we've lost them, right? One, they could have moved, they could have aged out of your product or services, and so good to know those things. There could be a legitimate also reason that if not fixed, we could be dealing with on the back end with more customers of ours. And I would rather know about that, right? I mean, just because I tell my children, just because we're closing our eyes and pretending that something doesn't happen doesn't mean that it won't have lasting effects. So even though it might not be as comfortable to hear some of these conversations, you know, we're all grown-ups here, and I think that it makes sense to incorporate some of these conversations in our customer insights strategy of along the journey of what's going on. So how we can use that. So making sure in the front end, obviously, that we're talking to them along the way, that we're engaging with them. And this should not then be an out of the blue of what's going on conversation. But I think that there's some really valuable information that can be taken back in the business, obviously with a grain of salt or where it is, but some legitimate concerns that could be fixed so we might not be losing more in the future. So I encourage you to include some lost customers, one, analysis, digging deeper and putting into some communication strategy with these guys to find out what's going on. So next week we will finish up on one of our last touch points that we have, ending on a happier note, and also answering some questions that have come in along the way.